I hope I have all of you here with me. We're coming live from Jamaica. I am excited to have this opportunity. I'm going to give folks some time to jump in on the screen with us. Maybe you're on your phone and you're using your little mobile to be here with me today, or perhaps you're on your laptop. Wherever you are, I'm happy you're here. I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm excited to do this. We are definitely walking in new territory. This is a new world for all of us, and so I find this extremely exciting to be here and to share with you just a bit about this journey to write this book, my own experiences during COVID-19, and yeah, just to talk about the book. So again, welcome. We're at 12:01. I always like starting on time because that's important to me. So, when you grow up in New York, as I did, you can probably hear the accent, right? There may be a bit of the Brooklyn girl showing up with a slight twing of the South because I spent some time in Savannah, Georgia. Many of you know that because you've known me for some years. So you may hear a bit of that. But if you grew up in New York, let me tell you, everything is about time. So being on time is essential. And I know that my good friend Jean Cox Turner understands time because we have had that conversation on so many occasions about people being on time or not being on time, and where are they and what's happening. So I am just excited again, like I said, to be here with you today. So this is new for me. This is new for me. And I'm doing this as an extension of the book because COVID-19 is new for all of us, isn't it? This global health pandemic has put us in a place where we couldn't have imagined ourselves being. So it's stretching us in a way that we have to learn to do things differently, truly learn to do things differently. It's helping us to build relationships. It's helping us to be more aware of the things happening around us, how they impact us, and to plan for the unplanned. I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it does. So my purpose for being with you here today is I wrote this book and it was a blessing to write it. So I own a leadership development company. I have been in business for over 20 years. I turned 52, woohoo, yesterday. I'm thanking God for those years. At one point in our lives, maybe some of us were shy to share what our age is, but when you live through some things, when you've been through some stuff, you need to go ahead and rejoice in the fact that you are here because this pandemic has taught us that there's some people who are not. So I proudly share the fact that I am 52 years old. My beautiful soror Florence said, "No, I think you got those numbers mixed up. You got them transposed." Florence, I'll take that. I will take that for sure. Um, but in this time in running my business, I started it in the United States, of course, did that for several years in the States, and then made a decision about 8 years ago now. Yeah, I think it's been about 8 years that I wanted to transition to living in the Caribbean because I'm a West Indian girl. This is the other side of my life. My father's family comes from the West Indies. We are Katishian and Jamaican. So it's beautiful to be in my home country. And I thought it was important because my daughter, I have one child, as many of you know. I thought it was important for her to understand her culture. And when you grow up in America, away from your culture, you cannot get the complete context of what it means when you are away from it. So this allowed me to kind of catch her before she took off for her life and be immersed in the Jamaican culture. So in doing that over the years, I have written some books in the past. This is actually my fourth book. Y'all, I've been around here for a minute. It's my fourth book. One is a academic ebook that I wrote. So this particular book I wrote because I was starting to feel the heaviness of how people were coping in this pandemic. And I felt that heaviness because of what I do for a living. As a leadership development expert, I do a lot of executive coaching. So I was having many, many conversations with individuals who were really struggling to understand what was happening, what are they supposed to do, how do I cope with this? How do you go to work one morning, have a full day, bit stressful, might be wonderful, wake up the next day and you hear about this virus, right? And you hear about it in China. And you say, oh my goodness, that's terrible. But it's far away, isn't it? Yeah, it's far away until it gets close. And so when it got close, one day we woke up and it was here. And then everything started to change, what probably felt like it was happening really, really quickly. And so in hearing those stories, and having been through a crisis of my own back in 2008, you all remember that, right? That mortgage situation. Yeah, we remember that one. Okay. So during that crisis, I owned my business in the States. I was living in Georgia, and it was going well. We had wonderful contracts. Things were going great. And there was one major problem, one huge problem. The majority of our clients represented them. We had just a few clients that represented the majority of our revenue. So when that happened, it meant that we were in trouble. We were in big trouble. And so here I was faced with, what do I do to continue? Yeah, let me stop there. What do I do to continue? And I had a wonderful team of people who were very supportive. My cousin Tarika was working with me, I think around that time. And we had to make some hard decisions. And when you own a business, very often people think you have all the answers, right? Because you own it. No, it was just your concept. It was the gift that God gave you, the seed He planted inside you that manifested in a way that you were supposed to give it to the world. And in giving it to the world, you assemble this team of individuals who help you sustain it. So when we were facing this crisis at the time in 2008, we gathered together in a meeting, and my team looked at me and they said, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know. What are we going to do? And we always had this very friendly, kind of conversation. People were close because I've always had a small company. We do big things, but we've always been small in number. And they said, no, Miss Jewel, we're serious. What are we going to do? And I said, yeah, I'm serious too. What are we going to do? And so that's when they got it. And it's the same thing in this scenario. What are we going to do? How do we position ourselves to get through this together? And that's very much a part of the premise of my book, right? We will not get through this situation unless we assemble to help each other through it, knowing that everyone has something to contribute. So I had been praying for some time, asking God to help me write my next book. Wasn't sure what it was going to be about. And it's kind of funny because my mother always used to tell me, she said, you don't read novels, because she's a reader. We're all readers in my family. But she never really saw me just reading a book just about life and love and whatever mystery, crime series, or whatever the case might be. So in doing that, I realized that I'm just wired differently. I was always reading Harvard Business Review, Black Enterprise Magazine, anything and everything that had to do with business. That's just what stimulated my mind. And I was asking God, how do I write this book? What will be my next book, Lord? What do you want me to write about? And I kept trying to write a personal book. Well, Maybe it comes from being a New Yorker and West Indian. We like our privacy. We don't let people get too close to our business. So maybe that's why I couldn't write it. And then this happened. And at the time, I had just flown back from the United States. It was early March. I was here in Jamaica, which is where I am now. You probably hear the birds and the trickling in the background. So maybe that'll give you a little bit of release and relaxation just to hear that. And then the pandemic started to grow. My daughter was out of the country. She was on a plane on the way back into the country. My mother was in Virginia, and so I couldn't even get home if I wanted to. I was in the state. And that gave me the perfect time to write Three Sides of Every Crisis. And it's about strategies to help you sustain your business, right? To manage your business, sustain your career, and to take care of you. And I call it Three Sides because when we look at a crisis and when you listen to the news and you pay attention to the headlines on the newspapers and on CNN, a lot of the conversation is about how is industry and the economy doing and big business. Yep, makes perfect sense. It does. It makes absolutely perfect sense. But at the same time, what about the people who work in that business? What about the individuals who go to work every single day to make sure that things keep moving? What about those folks? And the individuals who no longer have a job, right? We talk about them in terms of distress. We always are good about talking about their hardship, what's making it difficult for them. But it's not often that people want to talk about the positive side of the story and how we're taking care of ourselves in the process. So that is what this book is about. You hear me? It's about finding opportunities in the midst of a crisis. No matter what we face or what we go through, there's always something positive that can come from it. So welcome to this 1 hour of time that we will spend together. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me for this time where I'm going to walk through some of the chapters in the book. And I call it my virtual birthday book launch because yesterday was my birthday, but when you share it with Mother's Day, you can't compete with that. And because we can't be in close proximity to one another, there's always a way around it. And this pandemic has taught us how to stay connected despite having to social distance. So to me, that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the book. And please, as we go along, feel comfortable to share your questions. My daughter, Janae, is in the background. She's going to be helping me there, sending me some questions. So if you see that I'm looking to the side, it's because I want to make sure that if there are any questions, I'll be able to get to the questions. I can see them on the screen sometimes, but technology, it can be unreliable. So we're just going to take this ride to the best of our ability. So let's go ahead and take this ride, y'all. So this book is about 10 chapters long. It's about 150 plus pages, and I say about because, you have the forward and all those other types of good things. But I've put it in 3 sections. One section which opens talking about the crisis and focusing on those who are entrepreneurs. How do you navigate through this situation and some of the things that you can do to find opportunities in the midst of this storm? The next section focuses on employees, people working within a business, some of the challenges that they may find, and some strategies and some things that you can do to make sure that you remain present and that you are contributing to the process. So here's the thing, y'all. I want you to think about this. Most of us, if you're not working, have been quarantined, self-quarantined for about 2 months, at least a good 2 months. So I have a question for you. So this is a question for everyone to answer. What have you been doing during those 2 months? How have you spent your time for the last 60 days? Because when this is all said and done and you take a look, like a wide angle look widely and deeply, and you kind of look above, looking down into what happened over these past 2 months, you want to be able to say you did something constructive, that you got something out of this experience. So that's why I wrote this book, is to really help push people and energize people and inspire people to understand that a crisis doesn't mean stop. You know what a crisis means? It says, baby, you better get going. When I was younger, my mother used to laugh at me and my friends, right? Because I have friends who are West Indian and from Africa, and she'd say, boy, how many jobs y'all got? Because we always had something going on. We always had a side hustle, always had something new that we were doing, that we always kept the main thing, right? But it's okay if you got a little side thing. I'm talking about business, y'all, so keep your minds right. So the last part talks about taking care of you. So that's why it's called Midst of Every Crisis. And I put that part last because that's what I want to stay in your memory. If you are not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, getting through this crisis, it's going to be real hard. Let me say that differently. It's going to be super hard. It's going to be really, really super hard. And I'm not here to be preachy about the decisions that you make. I'm just here to say, you have to get your house in order. And this is the perfect time to do it. When situations come in our life, we forget that it's a tap on the shoulder to say, okay, what you doing? And why are you doing it? How are you doing it? What you want to get from it? And this is what this crisis is doing for us. So if we're going to look for the opportunities in this crisis, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to start at the place where you look at your organization, looking at who leads it. That's where you start first. And that's you. That's going to be you. That you remind yourself, why did you even start this process? What is it that drove you to start this particular business? Because when you're in the thicket of a thing, when you've been doing it for so long, sometimes you're just in the flow and you kind of lose focus as to what and who helped you get to where you are. So you have to check yourself, right? And if you got some good people around you, I got great people around me. Oh my goodness, do I have great people around me? I have been mentored by some of the amazing men in my life, like George Fraser. If you all know George Fraser from the Power Network, he wrote the foreword to my first book. Couldn't believe it. Met him at a conference. He came to speak at my Black Business Professionals and Entrepreneurs Conference. Many of you who are on with me today, you were part of that conference. And he's been a great mentor to me. State Representative Winfred Dukes in Georgia, great mentor. And then I have my tribe, right? I have the women around me who are amazing. And they're amazing because they uplift me and they call me into account when I get out of order. And then I have that incredible global organization called Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Oh my goodness, sorors! Are you in the house? Can I hear? All right, you hear in the background? That's my tribe with me. And all of you are part of my global village. So when things like this happen, you got to go to your village. You got to have a little round table discussion, to say, where are we? What are we doing? How are we going to get through this thing? And so in running a business, it's important that you start looking at where you are and how you got on this journey. You have to make strategic decisions, not sudden moves. When a surgeon operates, he makes skillful, precise incisions. He does not go in with a hatchet or a machete like we use in Jamaica. He's skillful. He uses a scalpel, right? And in doing that, it means that you are looking at the long range game. When a crisis comes, it makes us feel like we have to make an immediate decision. but quick doesn't mean right. Quick doesn't mean right. So it means that you have to pull back a bit, lean back, check out the lay of the land, and figure out where your company is and where it fits in. How are you going to do things differently? So being here in Jamaica, I have a client. Actually, this was my first client when I started my company here. And it's a company called Caribbean Producers of Jamaica. And they are a beverage and liquor and alcohol supplier to most of the resorts throughout the country. They actually operate throughout the Caribbean. And so can you imagine if that is the bulk of your business, and then every single hotel and every single resort closes? You know what that does to your revenue? Woo, baby. Oh, it turns it upside down. So they are a major supplier of food. They do beef products, they do pork, seafood, and they do wines and alcohol and spirit and things of that nature. And so retail was the major portion of their revenue. So they had to think quick. They had to think quick, but they had to pull back and figure out what was going to work. So they shifted their focus from retail to the consumer. And they started to do what's called bag sales. And they looked at the inventory because you got perishables, right? You got to move that stuff off the shelf. That was another reason why I didn't go into a product-driven company, because that stuff scares me. I can't even imagine owning a car lot and every day going to work seeing all those thousands and thousands of dollars sitting on the car lot. I don't have that in me. So you got to do what works for you. I'm a service-driven company. So they decided that they had to move their goods, and so they decided to discount them and offer bag good services. So they started to put together, and they bundled different types of products. Sometimes it was bacon and juice or mayonnaise or whatever it was. They put in bundles. They significantly discounted the cost of those items. You could WhatsApp your order. You can call in your order. And then when you drove there, it was sitting in a bag, and they handed it to you. Social distancing, don't forget, don't y'all get too close. You can't get too close. So you got it. And that was the trick, right? So it's one thing for this to be a global health pandemic, but then you got to figure out, how do you still survive in the midst of this and you can't get close to anyone? My goodness. Woo, boy, when you throw somebody a curveball, that's a serious curveball. But it just goes to show ingenuity. Sometimes it takes hardship and you being pressed to get creative, right? Sometimes that's what it takes. So when you make that shift, it wakes up something inside of you. It reminds you that, oh my goodness, all that innovation that caused me to start this business, all that creativity that kept me up late at night, early into the morning. I have personally been up. My friends know, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I am up. I am up when it's just flowing. The creativity is flowing. You can't go to sleep on that. You got to use that when God gives it to you. You have to use it. So they turned that situation around, and they became the first people to do that. So in business, there's this terminology called blue oceans, red oceans, and fast seconds. So here's a quick lesson for you. If you're a blue ocean, if you use a blue ocean strategy, that means that you're kind of swimming into uncharted territory, but it's clear and crystal clean. So you become the first person to do it. So you get to dominate the market. Woo, you own that thing. So they owned it when it happened. When you go into a market that is heavily populated, lots of competition, that's called a red ocean. Why? Because when you go in there, because you're not the first guy, the third guy, maybe the 10th guy, it'd be some bloody waters. You might get beat up real bad. So you got to have a good strategy when you go into it. Kind of like when Uber Eats came into the market. So Uber was a blue ocean strategy because they turned the head on personal transportation, right? We were used to doing taxis, getting into taxis. But now you have people who have their personal vehicles that can provide you with a ride. That's a blue ocean strategy. But Uber Eats became kind of a red ocean strategy because they were getting into the food service delivery business where there were already a lot of occupants. So The fast second is the folks who lay back and say, "Oh, I see how y'all doing that. Let me. Oh yeah, okay, I see the mistake you made. Yep, you made that mistake. Oh, you got that right. Let me tweak it, duplicate it, and make the magic happen for me." So there are lots of ways to look at this from the perspective of a business owner, so that you find your way through this circumstance. So I told you I've been here in Jamaica since this happened. And you know, most of you know that West Indian people can be very creative. People are creative anyway, right? We're very innovative. But can I tell you, I saw some things like I would not believe. One thing Jamaicans are known for is being very colorful and creative. And we often say that whatever's happening, Jamaica's got to turn it up a notch. So when people saw that there was a need for masks, people started making masks. That became a new business for them, right? That's something new that they decided to do. And so it created a revenue stream. But in Jamaica, they started making the masks to match your outfit. So people had masks that were matching their shirts. It was, I thought it was strange when I first heard it, but when I saw it, I said, "Oh boy, that's kind of turned up, ain't it? That's incredible. That's incredible." But guess what? If this crisis never happened, nobody would have thought of it. I get it. Maybe not the mask part, but it pushes you to look for new opportunities and realize that there's always a hidden gem in the midst of the storm that we face, even if you're working for a company. So here's the thing. This is what I have been sharing with a lot of my colleagues. If you are going to work every day, especially if you are in a leadership role, you need to be thinking about what this is going to mean for your career. I mean, let's give this some thought. You are going to be amongst a group of people, a small group of people, acquiring skills of how to deal in one of the biggest global pandemics, crisis, economics, all kinds of things going wrong. And guess who's there? Guess who's on the front line? You are. You are on the front line. So don't take this with just a grain of salt. Really be thoughtful about how you contribute, how you show up, and even if you're an employee. So I often tell people as a leadership expert, leadership is not tied to a position. You know that, right? It's not about a position or a promotion or a title. Leadership is a behavior. So when you show up at work, you need to be leading the pack. And there's a chapter in my book that's called getting your seat at the table, is what I talk about. How do you get your seat at the table? And what I mean by that is, especially if you are seasoned in your career, that you should be a decision maker. You should be a change maker, a change agent in the organization. So when these type of situations come up, they say, "Oh, I need to go talk to Janice." Anyone get in touch with Nimrod? Hey, ask him, because he's going to be the subject matter expert in a particular area that's going to drive the organization forward. Where's Felicia? She's been an educator for years, so she knows how to connect with children. She knows what we need to do to appeal to parents, to help them understand how do we collectively get through this crisis. So they need to know your name, and you need to know theirs. So when I was growing up, there was this expression, and you all know this, and it says, it's not about, what does it say, y'all? Anybody know? It's not about what you know, it's who you know. Is that what it says? I know Oprah Winfrey. Oprah don't know me. So it's not just about who you know, it's about who knows you. It's about how you show up in the organization and what things are you doing to make sure that they understand the value, what your contribution is. Because the way you contribute at the end of this, let's fast forward, post-crisis, right? 6 months down the line, people are having their after action review conversations. What do you have to say? 12 months down the line, it's performance review time. I know you're not thinking that far, are you? Well, I am. I'm thinking for you. It's performance review time. So this becomes a part of your conversation to be able to capture how you help the organization find its way through this crisis. So you need to be documenting what you're doing. You need to be keeping a record. So every organization, if you did not have a crisis management manual before now, this is your opportunity to step up and help make one. That's how you show up differently. Y'all, that's how you find the opportunity in a crisis. There's always something around the corner that you can do. There's always a way that you can contribute and claim your seat at the table. So you have to know what your position is and play to your strengths. Know how you show up every day. So I was talking to my son. He's my godson. He's my bonus baby. I have brought him into my fold. And he works for a call center. And he was, sharing how working from home is difficult. He was like, Mom, this is really hard. I didn't know it was going to be this difficult. And I said, yeah, because it's a new set of rules, right? You've got to do things differently. You don't have people that you can talk to by walking to the lunchroom or passing the water cooler, as they say back in the day. You're not in meetings where you see each other together. So it's a very different dynamic. And he was talking about how bored he was and how difficult it was and all that kind of good stuff. And I said, child, you better not get bored because we're not through this crisis. So don't get comfortable because there might be a second round, because that's what happened with my client. They, in consulting them, we talked about taking a strategic phased approach to how to do this. Don't let everybody go. Don't make one big sweep. So keep the people who are going to be most critical to the organization and look at where you are in 30 to 60 days from there, and then decide that you can move forward in a different kind of a way. So there was a second round that came because the amount of money that they were generating just was not enough to continue the workforce that was in play at the time. So pay attention to that so that you are able to make the adjustments, to your workforce and to your team, to the vision, to the mission, to whatever is in play at the time, and be honest and transparent about it. That's why this has to be a team effort. We've got to do this together, because without your team members, you have no business. Right? You have no business without your team members, and then they are so critically important to how you move forward, but then how you show up and how you contribute within the organization is going to mean that when they have to make cuts, your name may not be the one that comes up. They will realize the value add that you bring to the table. So you'll stay in play. So that's really, really, really important. And then I tackled this subject about it's only a dream because you let it be. The other thing that this crisis has done is it has made us wake up to the dreams we have been sitting on for a long time. Wake up. Many of us have said they want to start a business. Maybe you want to start a small restaurant. Maybe you wanted to explore your sewing and design clothes. One of my friends did that. One of my good friends, Ebony, came to see me yesterday for my birthday. And she actually, I posted it yesterday, she actually came and made this beautiful floral collage, which is behind me. And I showed it on Facebook yesterday. And she is an excellent seamstress. And in the midst of this storm, because she sells real estate, she had to find something else to do. And she started sewing. And guess what? She came up with her own line of clothes, made her own label. She came to my house yesterday and she said, look at this. And she was pulling on her clothes. I said, what do you want me to look at? And when I turned it over, the label had her name in her clothes. And I said, wow, that's incredible. So it's only a dream because you let it be a dream. If you are home, self-quarantining, talking about being bored, I don't even understand that. Because there's too much for you to do, too much for you to put your hands on or get your hands into that can help change the entire trajectory of your life. If you're retired, then you know what? Pay it forward. Help some organization. So You all know I have one daughter. That's all I could bear, y'all. Listen, that's all I could do. I made my contribution to the world. Took me 6 months to make her, and then it took me a whole lot longer to give birth to her. It seemed like it was a forever, forever. And during this crisis, she's been blessed to continue to work. Hey, Janae. And I'm so proud that she's able. But you know what I asked her? I said, well, what else are you doing? And the typical mother, she said, Mommy, I'm always trying to make sure that she knows she's got to contribute in a different kind of a way. And she told me that there's a nonprofit organization that asks people to make masks. And because she can sew, no, I did not teach her that skill. I didn't give her those skills. She got that. That's why you got grandparents, because they can help with the other stuff. And she was sewing masks, and they would come and they would pick them up. There's always some way to contribute. And the way you contribute may become the key that unlocks the door to your dream. All right? So all of us have a role to play in this process. So it's looking at this crisis from the lens of an entrepreneur, an individual who's inside the organization, an employee, whether you be in a leadership role or wherever you are, whether you're part of the larger base, the bigger base, which you're a team player, perhaps part of in a call center. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Or you might be at home, like me. There's nobody calling for training right now, but we flipped the script. Now we're finally able to offer virtual training because when we first tried 8 years ago, Jamaica just wasn't ready for it. They weren't ready. Now, boy, everybody needs it. So there's always a blessing that comes in the midst of the circumstances in which we're seated. And that's what I want to really drive home in my messaging about this book, is that there are opportunities and they might be hidden, but it's just a matter of applying a little bit of pressure, just putting in the work to find the opportunities that are there waiting on you, waiting for you to contribute in some kind of a way. So I share with you that it's composed in 3 parts, right? Looking at the business, looking through the lens of the employee, and then the last is about taking care of you. So let me pause for a minute and tell you why this was so significant to me. So the coronavirus, as we know it, the information we have at this point, came out of China. And when I started doing my research, I came to find out that the Chinese symbol for crisis means danger on one side and opportunity on the other. And I thought that was so ironic. That was so ironic. The place in which all this started, their belief system about crisis teaches us that if you paddle this way or you paddle that way, you journey yourself to either danger or opportunity. I don't know about y'all, but I'm paddling toward opportunity. So I'm hoping you have some questions. Maybe you have questions about what I've shared with you thus far in the book, or if you want to know how I went about writing books. Doesn't matter. How I made the decision to leave America and move to the Caribbean. That process. I'm wide open to any questions that you'd like to pose today. So let me go a little bit into taking care of you. So we're at the 12:38 hour, or the 1:38 hour for you all who are on the East Coast. And so I said I left this piece for last because if you're not taking care of yourself, none of this matters. So healthy living in COVID. I have a classmate. His name is Geoffrey Mount Varner. He's an emergency room doctor in Maryland. And he also is a subject matter expert on making split-second decisions. So I want you all to remember that website, split-second decisions. So some of my Hamptonians, if you're here, I'm giving Geoffrey Mount a shout out because he's been coming on Facebook every single day, just about, or every couple of days. He's tried to tie it to when an update is necessary. And he's been telling people different things, providing medical information. Let me emphasize, it's information, not a diagnosis. And he has been sharing with us about how to make these critical decisions and how important how you take care of your health is to fighting this virus. And one of the things that I found out, which was so interesting, is that vitamin D is critical. And guess what? Those of you who are of a darker hue like myself, you don't have as much vitamin D as most people of color. So you have to get your vitamin D a little bit more, right? We have to do a little bit more to get our vitamin D. I can get mine and you get yours from sunshine, of course, but that's not enough. But fatty foods and things of that nature will allow us to get the vitamin D. But taking care of ourselves also means that we have to find a way to exercise and be healthy and look at the foods that we're eating that's going to feed our soul, feed our bodies so that we get through this pandemic. And if you perhaps are faced with it, you can come out of it and fight it. So one of the questions is, how have I been adjusting my business strategy during this pandemic? So again, I'll repeat, I own a leadership development company. We specialize in customizing curriculum for companies that helps to teach people who are at the supervisor to C-suite level about how to lead an organization. We also do executive coaching and cultural competency training. And what I mean by that is, just because you bring a business to Jamaica doesn't mean you know how to live and run a business in Jamaica. So we help people make that shift. So the way I have been adjusting myself has been in a couple of ways. One, we started to take a lot of our training online. It created two opportunities for us to teach our clients how to be able to deliver professional development training online, to do it virtually, and two, to be able to put them in a platform that stretches their own skill set. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the internet and being online. Trust me, this is my first time doing Facebook Live. I have been running from this for a long time. I can stand in front of thousands of people and give a speech, speak at conferences all the time. Everything from the Congressional Black Caucus to African American Women on Tour way back in the day. But this has been a challenge. But I had to push myself to do that. So we took our stuff virtually. The other way that we have adjusted our business model is we started doing helping our clients with how to coach. So we trained people within the organization how to do coaching instead of just delivering the coaching for ourselves, because you got such a large number of individuals. So we thought about, how do we create more opportunities in this climate? And then writing this book has been a big help as well. This was something that was on my heart for a long time. So to be able to write a book, but I didn't know what the subject matter was going to be. This subject matter now helps us to open a door where we are sharing our experiences of having gone through our own crisis back in 2008. So when this came, we were better positioned. I didn't panic, right? The one thing I learned from that crisis was God brought me through it. There's nothing I've ever experienced that he didn't bring me through. So I'm going to be okay. So there's no need to panic. Take your hand off that panic button, because the minute you do that, it might create more challenges for you. It might create some real challenges for you. So we just looked at how we could deliver our services in a different kind of a way. And the last thing that we started to do, we started to focus our efforts on targeting organizations. So for instance, the Human Resource Management Association of Jamaica, which is SHRM in the United States, Society for Human Resource Management, as well as ATD, the American Talent Development Organization, they still have a call to provide services to their members. And so being able to find content and people who can do that can be tricky. Guess who can do it? We can do it. So we created a virtual platform using GoToTraining, Zoom, that allowed us to be able to do that. Got another question. Are you still conducting training in the States, or are you solely in Jamaica? No, we're global. I travel to the States every 6 to 8 weeks. So remember, I have a daughter who's still there. My mom is there. My home is there. Yeah, so I come back and forth to the States and deliver training to meet the needs of my clients. The beautiful thing is, I have learned how to work this thing. The flexibility of being able to come back and forth just means that I have to be a lot more strategic, and I have to do a lot more planning when it comes to delivering the training services for my clients. And so I have a team that helps me with that. I'm not the only person who does it. Oh boy, I'd be burned out. So thank goodness for that. Hi, Adrian. Adrian has been one of my trainers, has worked with me for years, on and off. So she's absolutely awesome. So I'm so glad that she continues to be a part of this village. Please keep the questions coming. I'm loving these questions. So as I wait for the next question, I want to talk a little bit about continue to talk about taking care of you. I've got about 15 minutes left with you. Thank you for being with me for this time, for this period as we go along. This has been absolutely lovely. The last couple of things that I want to say about taking care of you. In this book, I tried to give as many tips as possible. We did a lot of research. I had a team of 6 people working with me, doing research, editing the book. It's been really, really good. So we provided everything from virtual tours that you can take. You know, if you ever had a dream to go to the Great Wall of China or the African American Museum, now you can go and visit virtually. You can't travel on a plane, and some of you are not ready to travel on a plane. Hey, Anna Kay, so good to see you. Let me pause. Anna Kay was one of the young ladies who participated in training at Caribbean Producers, CPJ, Caribbean Producers of Jamaica. And I am acknowledging her because she's a new mom. She gave birth to a beautiful son. So this was her first Mother's Day. So congratulations to you. Take care of that baby. 6 months. Oh, what a beautiful time. I think one of the best parts of having a baby is being able to smell their neck, right? Remember that smell? Don't do it too often because it'll make you want to have another baby. But especially if you're a mom, you have to take care of yourself. You have to stay healthy because you don't want to transfer what you're experiencing out in the world and bring it into your home environment. So we have to be very, very careful about that. So there's a chapter in there called Beating Back Boredom. Because I know it could get tough. And I don't want you all to think because I was able to write this book and I'm sharing these strategies that I haven't had my own experiences. To be truthful, that's why I could write the book. Because I can intimately share with you what my experiences have been. I got so bored. Yes, I'm going to share this story because I know you all are my family. You're my village. So y'all not going to talk about me. You're going to laugh with me. You ready? Okay, here's the story. So living in Jamaica is absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. There's some adjustments. No matter where you live, there are adjustments to be made. And because it's been so quiet, nature, the animals have taken over. They've taken back what we took from them. So the birds in my yard have been talking and giggling and arguing and doing whatever they want to do. I'm okay with that. 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep because they're so loud. They are so loud. So one day I'm out on my veranda and I'm working, doing what I'm doing, and a bird flies on my veranda. And I look at her and I said, because I made it to her. She got stuck between the grill, because in Jamaica we have grills, and the window pane. I'm thinking she's going to be able to fly out. She shouldn't have any problem. Well, she couldn't. She was stuck. And so I went over there and I said, that's what you get for keeping me up last night, doing all that talking and cackling. So I understand you can get bored. I understand that this thing of being self-quarantining, especially when you're by yourself, I live alone, right? I have family and sorors who come. I live alone, but I don't live alone because I have my amazing sorors, Florence and Janice and Ilana and Sheila. They've been so good to me. They've been so very good to me. And they're always here. Yusidra, my gosh, love you, soror. Absolutely love all of you. Jackie, you all have been Shannon, you all have been amazing in supporting me through this journey, and we've been supporting each other. So boredom can creep in, but you've got to find your way to work through the boredom so it doesn't overtake you. So find your gift, find what it is that you love to do. My daughter is an amazing cook. She's an amazing cook. Yep, didn't give her that skill either. Hey, don't no pressure, no judgment. Grandparents, grandparents. She got it from my mama. My mom Diane is a listen. All of you have good mamas. All of you have good mamas. But my mama, yeah, she's a really good mama. So she was retired by the time my daughter was born. So my daughter got to learn so many things from my mom, and that's the way it should be, right? So I'm going to take another question. How long did it take me to write my book, and how many books do I have? This is my fourth book. I started writing this book in March, right? But when people say, wow, some people think 2 months was quick, but it's my gift. God gave me the gift of writing. I don't say that to be braggadocious. I say that to mean if you ask me to do your taxes, you're going to jail. That's not my gift. I know how to write. So I was able to write it in 2 months, and I used a person who helped me with my research. So she would, do the research. I had two people actually help me with research, and that added to it. The book is going to be available. So Amazon is moving a little bit slower, as you all know. So we were going to make the ebook available sooner, but we're just going to do everything at the same time, which will be May 15th. Everything will launch. It will be available in over 40,000 locations. Yeah, okay, let me sit back. Yeah, that's amazing. That's what technology does for you. So you'll be able to buy it through my website, juledaniels.net. You can advance order, pre-order it now. So I would greatly appreciate if you do that. You can pre-order at juledaniels.net. And then by the 15th, it will be available on Amazon. You can download it on iBooks. It'll be available in Germany, Sweden, all over the globe. So that's awesome. Another question. Great. Keep them coming, y'all. I'm loving this. This is awesome. Yes, I do provide. Do you think virtual training will become the new norm? It's a great question. I think what's going to happen is I believe it's going to be a blended approach. I think we can't get away from personal contact. We have to learn to do it differently, right? It's going to take some time for people to have faith and trust in getting past social distancing, right? It's going to take some time for us to have that level of comfortability. So I think virtual training will be our go-to for a period of time, and it will complement what we do in the classroom. I love them both, but there's something about connecting with people that you just can't duplicate that, right? You just can't take away from being in the presence of someone. I know when I am training or even when I'm giving a speech, I can feel the energy of the room and I know how to shift and adjust. I can see what's happening with people, right? You connect through their body language, you're looking into their eyes, and you're able to respond and adjust yourself accordingly. So I don't think we will have the luxury of abandoning in-person training, but it's going to take us a little bit of time to kind of get back to that place. Okay, so as I get ready to wrap this up, we've got about 6 minutes left. I want to talk a little bit about adjusting to the new normal. Things are going to be different. Yeah, they're going to be different, but it doesn't mean they're going to be bad. So the emphasis here is about changing your perspective. Look at this from the most optimistic lens that you can possibly do. There's more to lose by getting stuck on finding all the problems. all you do is spiral in that particular case. Turn off those news channels sometimes because you can get really stuck in hearing the bad news. I had to cut it off. I had to cut it off. And if you are watching the news, as a person who was a former journalist, I used to write for a newspaper. When an article goes into a paper, the advertising goes in first. So if the page is 20 inches, and it's not, but 20 inches, and they put in 5 inches of advertising, there's only 15 inches left of space to put your article in there. And if you write a 20-inch article, they cut 5 inches, and you're not there to be a part of the cutting. So critical information can get cut. So make sure you consult more than one source. Go to multiple sources, and even listen to that network that you don't like so much. Y'all not gonna get me in trouble, me call anybody out. I'm not gonna do that. So make sure that as we adjust to this new normal, we're finding ways to do different things differently, but we're looking at the most positive ways to be able to do that. And I'm going to wind down here. So the new normal means that we'll do things differently, but we're going to embrace what those different things are, that we're going to do it as together. You all are my village. You all are my village, and I'm so thankful that you all shared this time with me. I'm thankful that you all are looking at you're looking at different ways to get through this, positive ways to be able to get through this. So I look forward to the opportunity to be able to do this again. I will be hosting regular webinars, and I'll do them through Zoom so that I can open up the mic and you can ask questions and share your stories next time. And I will personalize some of the books. So if you want the book personalized, just drop a note and I will make sure that I personalize the book for you. So here's my last piece. Y'all know I turned 52. One of my clients here, Mega Mart, which is kind of like Costco in the States, they were so kind to provide me with a cake. Yes, they provided me with a cake to celebrate my birthday, to celebrate this book launch, and I wanted to share that experience with you. My sorority sister Janice is here with me. She's grabbing a knife so that we can cut this cake. I just wanted to just have a way to be able to connect with you all in a different kind of a way. So before we do that, are there any more questions? This is going to be the cake breaking launch. Swimming into the deep. Here we go. Life, here we come. We stand strong. We understand that opportunities are right in front of us, to the left, the right of us, and keep looking forward. One of the things my sorority sisters will tell you, I'm the president of the Jamaica alumni chapter here, and we've had some challenges in how we navigate through this. And we've talked a lot about what got us here. And I keep telling my sorors, y'all need to stop looking in the rearview mirror. There ain't nothing there for us. Let's look forward. Let's keep it going. Janice, are you ready? So you guys, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for celebrating my 52nd birthday. Mega Mart, thank you so very much. They threw the cover on here as best as they could. I really, really appreciate it. You see the heat. The heat is changing the book cover. Janice, will you cut the tape for me? Yeah, in the book I talk about indulging a bit too. So sometimes you have to indulge in the things that get you past the boredom, the good stuff. Anything you do is good for you, as long as you don't do it in excess. Anything you don't do in excess is not a good thing for you. So if you need to have some of this Black Forest cake, go get it delivered. You don't have to go to the grocery store. Do what you need to do to get your Black Forest cake, your red velvet cake. Oh man, your cheesecake. Oh boy, I think I just had a moment where I'm missing the Cheesecake Factory. Thank you so very much for tuning in. You all know that when I am on Facebook, I often mention that you are part of my global village. It takes a village for us to get through this thing we call life successfully. And it's not just about being successful, When my daughter was younger, I used to always ask her, I would go to college and I would visit her, and the last thing I would say to her, which do you choose, success or greatness? So as a freshman, she was like, I'm not sure. And then she finally got to a place where she remembered that I taught her. Success is what you do for yourself. Greatness is what you do for others. And so we're looking to be great and to get through this in an extraordinary kind of a way. So let's do this. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you, Janice, for my birthday cake. You guys, I'm going to take a bite. I'm beating back the boredom. Take care. Any more questions? Send them to me. You can email me as well, by the way, you guys. You can email me at jewel@dcleadershiptraining.com. I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a note on Facebook. Whichever way you like to be able to connect with me is fine. Love hearing from you. It's been absolutely, positively wonderful. I was scared to do this, and I did it here in this forum because I knew you were my friend. Have a great day.